Dana Perino is one of the most trusted voices in American media. She has spent many years helping shape how our nation talks about important topics. From the busy White House briefing room to popular TV shows like The Five and America's Newsroom, millions of people know her. She is calm and steady, even when everything around her feels crazy. She stood behind the podium during very tough times with a calmness that seemed almost superhuman. But not many people remember that this amazing woman started her life far from power in a small Wyoming town. She grew up without much money, making her way to Washington through hard work, determination, and a will of steel. And now at 53, behind the bright smile America loves, Dana faces a chapter more painful than any media battle she has ever fought. A chapter filled with quiet losses and hurts that only her heart truly understands. Grief rarely shows itself. It creeps in quietly like the Wyoming wind that shaped Dana Perino's difficult early years. Born on May 9, 1972 in Evanston, a town so quiet that even the silence feels hurt by the cold, the young girl entered a world where toughness wasn't taught, but breathed in. The sky above her stretched out in a harsh, almost unforgiving beauty. She only lived there until she was 2. But in those short years, the land marked her forever. Long before the girl knew the word grief, she felt it in her bones. "Wyoming lives in my bones," the young woman whispered years later, remembering a home she couldn't quite remember, but couldn't quite leave. When her family moved to Denver, Colorado, Dana stepped into a childhood shaped by not having much money and quiet expectations. The Perino home was never wealthy or loud. It was a place where responsibility was carried without complaining, where silence trained the heart more than words ever could. Her father, Leo, became her first teacher, opening the newspaper each night, teaching her that the world showed itself only to those who paid attention. Her mother, steady and warm, taught her the other half of survival. Looking back, Dana understood that these lessons became the backbone of her adult life. She learned to hold in her feelings, to measure her steps, to read a room before daring to speak. Every summer, she returned to her grandfather's ranch in Wyoming. At 9, she woke up before sunrise to carry water, clean stalls, and fix fences under a sun that gave no mercy. The ranch made no allowances for her age or size. But in its harshness, Dana discovered an unexpected safe place. By her early teens, she woke up for early morning shifts at a PBS station and worked late nights at a radio station, learning discipline, patience, and steadiness that would define her. One treasured item, an illustrated children's Bible, disappeared during a family move, leaving an empty ache. Years later, a viewer mailed her the same copy, and the flood of memory hit. "It felt like a piece of my childhood came home," she whispered. Dana did not become strong because life was easy. She became strong because life required it. After leaving Wyoming and Denver, Dana entered adulthood, carrying the invisible scars of her childhood. At university, Dana studied mass communications with minors in Spanish and political science. While her classmates wandered through carefree weekends, Dana worked late-night shifts at a radio station. By day, she helped at a tiny PBS station, often alone. Then came Washington, the golden capital of power. Dana arrived as a quiet staff assistant, answering phones and taking notes. She had no family nearby, no safety net, only determination. Her opportunity came when she became press secretary for Congressman Dan Schaefer. Reporters tested her, staffers underestimated her. Yet, Dana wrote with precision and learned to stay calm. Her rise was never fast, but every inch was earned. The first real blow came in 1998 when Congressman Dan Schaefer announced his retirement. At 26, she tasted the raw pain of losing not only a job, but a sense of purpose. It was at this fragile moment that she met Peter on a flight, a man older, divorced twice. Within 11 months, Dana married and left for England, stepping into a world where her career vanished. Yet in the shadows of loss, Dana's toughness deepened. When 9/11 struck, she returned to the United States as a woman shaped by hardship. Taking up the role of spokesperson at the Department of Justice, She became the calm in a nation's storm. In 2002, she joined the Council on Environmental Quality, learning to handle sensitive information. By 2005, at just 33, Dana became Deputy Press Secretary. Under the guidance of Tony Snow and Scott McClellan, she suddenly found herself in a national spotlight, delivering briefings that could change the temperature of the country. Each day, she faced a packed press room. Dana, barely 5 feet 1 inch, stood before cameras with a steadiness that defied her size. What no one saw was the private battle beneath that calm. The moment that would etch itself forever into Dana's soul arrived when Tony Snow was diagnosed with cancer. The mentor who had shaped her voice suddenly faced death. Her carefully built world became a test of grief and duty. Pushed into the spotlight, Dana delivered statements she barely believed she could voice. In 2007, at 35, when Tony stepped down, Dana became the second female White House press secretary in history. She inherited a role where every word was magnified. 7 days a week, often 14 to 16 hours a day, the demands never stopped. She had become the nation's most trusted voice. When January 2009 arrived, Dana left the White House with public praise and private scars. Seeking renewal, she traveled to South Africa for volunteer work. Dana returned and started a new chapter in national media. Joining Fox News, she became a trusted face to millions of Americans. Her voice shaped public conversation, providing a model of integrity and calm. The same endurance built in the White House now shown on screens across the country. Just outside the frame stood Peter McMahon, a British businessman 18 years her senior. They met in 1997 on a flight from Denver to Chicago. When they married in 1998, it was a small, quiet ceremony in South Carolina. Yet beneath that warmth lay a quiet truth: the children they never had. As a young woman, Dana had imagined motherhood. But a life in politics and media never offer pause. Time passed without mercy, and the door to having children slowly closed. She never called it regret, only a truth she learned to carry with grace. Love for Dana and Peter shifted into different shapes. Jasper, America's dog, filled their home with warmth. When Jasper died in 2021, the world saw Dana's tear-streaked face on air. Percy arrived later, bringing laughter back. Through it all, time remained their quiet enemy. Dana stepped firmly into her early 50s, while Peter, in his early 70s, bore the clear marks of age. There were evenings when Peter fell ill, and Dana would sit beside him, counting each breath. Peter became her unseen anchor. Their love grew from small, enduring tenderness. Their marriage became a reminder that love need not be perfect to be amazing. At 36, Tony Snow, the teacher who taught her to stand firm, was entering a battle with cancer. To Dana, he was the first person to see a strength she didn't yet recognize. He taught her how to be steady. Over those years, their relationship developed into something rarer. Dana later said he was the big brother she never had. In July 2008, the world lost Tony. Dana's grief was deep, impossible to broadcast. The loss was not simply a mentor gone. It was a brother, a foundation removed. And yet, from that void, Dana discovered a new depth. Tony's voice became her compass. Now at 53, Dana stands in a chapter that looks peaceful from outside. Her estimated net worth of $6 million is the quiet collection of decades spent rising before dawn. Her world today centers in Bayhead, New Jersey, in a home that is a safe place carved from years of unrest. The home isn't the largest, but it is something Dana never had before. A place that doesn't feel temporary. Dana's sense of wealth has never come from objects. Her luxury now is quieter, more deep. Her days with Peter now unfold to a rhythm almost sacred. Walking the shoreline with Percy. At home, dinners are shared quietly. Yet even in this softened chapter, shadows linger. The White House years etched into her muscle memory. And there is a quieter ache she carries. The hollow of a life without children. Yet Dana has never allowed loss to define her. She transforms it. She pours her generosity into people, mentoring young journalists. Through her books, she has quietly directed money to educational programs. She supports mercy ships. Professionally, she stands in her prime. On the Five in America's newsroom, Dana remains one of the most trusted voices on American television. And through it all, Peter remains the steady center. Their marriage endures because it is built on choosing each other deliberately every single day. As Dana steps into the next decade, she carries a truth forged across continents: losses, victories, and healing. Strength does not always roar. Sometimes strength is a quiet, steady light that outlives every storm.